You think you are respected because people rely on you, because they call when things fall apart, because you are the one who steadies the ground while others move freely. That belief is the first manipulation, and it has already worked on you. If you were truly respected, you would not feel this quiet exhaustion. You would not sense the invisible ceiling placed above you. You would not be included only when something needs to be carried, fixed, stabilized, absorbed. Respect does not drain you. Usage does. You are not paranoid. You are late. Someone around you has already decided what you are for, not who you are, what you are. A structure, a foundation, a shock absorber, something solid enough to lean on and silent enough not to demand more. And the most dangerous part is this: they reward you just enough to keep you standing still. Power does not announce itself. It categorizes. It sorts people into functions. Some are ornaments, some are weapons, some are shields, and some are infrastructure. Infrastructure is essential, but never admired. It is only noticed when it fails. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. Men do not honor what they can safely depend on. They exploit it. They conserve respect for what can disrupt them. Stability is not a compliment. It is a designation. In every social structure, from primitive tribes to modern corporations, there are individuals who become load-bearing. They are predictable, reliable, forgiving. They absorb pressure without retaliating. Evolutionarily, this makes them useful. Psychologically, it makes them disposable. The group survives by leaning on them, but the hierarchy rises by stepping over them. You have been trained to confuse being needed with being valued. That training began early. Praise followed compliance. Approval followed endurance. Silence followed discomfort. You learned that strength meant not making others uncomfortable with your limits. That lesson did not make you powerful. It made you manageable. Watch how people speak to you when you hesitate. There is impatience. Watch how they speak to you when you comply. There is relief, not admiration. Relief is not respect. Relief means tension has been removed. Respect means tension has been introduced. When someone truly respects you, they measure their behavior. They calculate consequences. They hesitate before crossing lines. When someone uses you for stability, they assume access. They assume availability. They assume forgiveness before the offense is even committed. You are the one expected to understand, to adjust, to take the higher ground, to be the bigger person. That phrase exists only to keep you smaller. Predators do not hunt the strongest animal. They hunt the most predictable one, the one that moves the same way every time, the one that does not break pattern. You have become patterned. You respond the same way to pressure every time, by holding. And holding feels noble. It feels mature. It feels superior. That is why it is so effective as a trap. Stability without leverage is submission dressed as virtue. People who respect you do not test how much you can carry. They test how far they can go before you push back. And those who are using you already know the answer. You do not push back. You absorb. You wait. You rationalize. They call you dependable, grounded, strong. These words sound like honor, but they are euphemisms. They are ways of praising the wall for not moving while others rearrange the room. Notice how rarely your needs become urgent. Notice how often your boundaries are treated as flexible suggestions. Notice how your silence is interpreted as consent and your patience as permission. This is not accidental. It is conditioned. Human beings subconsciously rank others by the cost of crossing them. The lower the cost, the lower the respect. You have made yourself low cost.
You have taught them that your reaction will never outweigh their convenience, and so they keep you close but never elevate you. Close enough to lean on, far enough to ignore. The illusion you are living under is dangerous, that if you remain stable long enough, respect will eventually arrive. It will not. Stability does not ascend. It anchors others so they can climb. Machiavellian power begins when you understand this brutal distinction. Usefulness earns reliance, not reverence. Reverence is reserved for those who can disrupt order, not merely preserve it. You have been preserving order at your own expense. And the first sign, though you have felt it for years, is this: your presence creates comfort, not caution. People relax around you too easily. They unload without asking. They assume you will still be there afterwards. That is not respect. That is consumption. If this realization unsettles you, good. That discomfort is the mind waking up. Because once you see the pattern, you will begin to notice others forming around you, adjusting their weight, testing your structure. And what comes next will decide whether you remain infrastructure or become something far more dangerous to rely on.
They do not listen to you the way they listen to others. Not because you lack intelligence, not because your words lack value, but because your role has already been assigned. You are not consulted to shape direction. You are consulted to confirm stability. Watch closely. When you speak, people nod quickly. When others speak, they pause, they ask questions, they debate. With you, there is no friction, no resistance. Your words are absorbed the way furniture absorbs weight, silently, without acknowledgement. This is the second sign. Your voice has become structural, not influential. In every hierarchy, attention follows threat. People listen carefully to those who might disrupt the order if ignored. They dismiss those who maintain it regardless. You have proven that neglect does not provoke you, so neglect becomes safe. You may have noticed something else. When decisions are made, you are often informed late, sometimes after the fact, sometimes framed as inevitability. This is just how it turned out. There was no other option. These phrases are not explanations, they are shields. They are used on those whose agreement is assumed, not earned. Respect requires persuasion. Usage relies on assumption. There is a subtle cruelty in how this plays out. You are trusted with responsibility, but not authority. You are expected to execute, but not to direct, to carry consequences, but not to shape choices. This division is intentional. Responsibility without authority is the mark of someone being used for stability. Machiavelli warned that power belongs to those who control outcomes, not those who suffer them. You have been positioned to suffer outcomes gracefully. Notice how often people come to you in crisis, but rarely in celebration. You are the place where chaos is deposited, not where triumph is shared. You receive the weight, not the reward. This conditions the mind to associate you with containment, not elevation. In primal terms, you have become the campfire, not the hunter, essential, central, taken for granted. And when you express dissatisfaction, even softly, the reaction is revealing. Surprise, confusion, sometimes irritation, as if a chair complained about being sat on, as if the foundation dared to creak. Your discomfort violates the unspoken agreement they believe you signed. That agreement exists only in their mind, but it governs your treatment completely. You are expected to be reasonable, calm, understanding.
These expectations are not virtues, they are constraints. They limit how you are allowed to respond. Anyone who reacts emotionally is seen as passionate. When you react emotionally, you are seen as unstable. This double standard is not accidental. It preserves your function. Those who respect you allow you to be unpredictable. Those who use you require consistency. Another sign reveals itself in how your absence is treated. When you step back, even briefly, there is not concern for you. There is inconvenience, frustration, pressure disguised as worry. Is everything okay? Does not mean concern. It means, when will you resume your role? True respect fears loss. Usage fears disruption. Biology explains this mercilessly. Social animals prioritize threats and resources. You have been categorized as a resource. Resources are optimized, not honored. They are stretched to maximum output. They are depleted quietly. You may pride yourself on being unshakable, on being the one others depend on. That pride is the leash. It keeps you compliant while draining you. Machiavellian thinkers understand that the most effective chains are the ones the prisoner polishes themselves. And then there is the most telling sign of all. They do not fear disappointing you. They fear disappointing others, superiors, influential peers, volatile personalities, but not you. Your disappointment carries no cost. You may withdraw emotionally, you may feel hurt, but you will not retaliate. You will not disrupt. You will not impose consequence. And so, disappointment becomes cheap. Respect emerges when disappointment is dangerous, when ignoring you creates uncertainty, when crossing you introduces risk. You have removed all risk from mistreating you, then wondered why mistreatment persists. This is not because you lack worth, it is because you have hidden it too well. Machiavelli did not advise cruelty for its own sake. He advised clarity. To be feared or loved is not a moral choice, but a strategic one. You have chosen to be relied upon, but not reckoned with. And the longer this continues, the more entrenched it becomes. Roles solidify, expectations harden. People begin to defend the version of you that benefits them. Any deviation feels like betrayal. You are not trapped by their perception. You are trapped by your consistency. But patterns can be broken, not with confrontation, not with explanation, but with disruption. And that begins with understanding the next, more insidious sign, one that hides behind praise and gratitude and convinces you that being diminished is somehow noble.
They praise you often, but the praise never elevates you. It soothes you. It keeps you in place. Listen to the language they use. I don't know what we'd do without you. You're so solid. You always hold things together. These are not acknowledgments of power. They are reinforcements of function. They are verbal pats on the head meant to calm the workhorse, not crown the king. This is the third sign, admiration without elevation. True respect changes your position. It expands your influence. It grants you access. Praise without advancement is a psychological sedative. It quiets your instinct to demand more. Machiavelli understood this tactic intimately. Reward the servant with words, not territory. Gratitude costs nothing. Power costs everything. Notice how rarely appreciation is followed by opportunity, how rarely thank you becomes your decision. You are applauded, then returned to the same place, like a performer brought back for an encore, but never invited backstage. This dynamic trains you to associate self-worth with endurance rather than authority.
You begin to measure your value by how much you can tolerate, how much you can absorb without complaint. This is not strength, this is conditioning. There is another layer to this manipulation. They frame your stability as a moral virtue. You are the mature one, the rational one, the one who doesn't overreact. These labels sound flattering, but they are cages. They restrict your emotional range and justify others' excesses. When someone disrespects you, the narrative is not about their behavior, it is about your reaction. You are expected to rise above it, to understand their stress, to contextualize their flaws. Meanwhile, no one is asked to contextualize yours. This imbalance is strategic. It keeps power asymmetrical. In evolutionary hierarchies, those who enforce boundaries rise, those who excuse violations descend. You have been excusing violations in the name of harmony, unaware that harmony is often the language of domination. Another sign reveals itself when conflict arises. You are the one expected to mediate, to compromise, to sacrifice. Others are allowed to stand firm. You are asked to bend. Over time, bending becomes your default posture. People respect rigidity. They exploit flexibility. This is not because rigidity is morally superior, but because it introduces friction. Friction demands negotiation. You have removed friction from interactions with you. You have made yourself easy to deal with. Ease is not respected, it is consumed. There is a quiet resentment growing in you because of this. You feel it when you are alone, a sense that you give more than you receive, that your loyalty is unmatched, yet unreturned. This resentment is not weakness, it is suppressed intelligence. It is your mind signaling that the exchange is unfair. But instead of addressing the imbalance, you rationalize it. You tell yourself you are above petty power games, that you value peace, that others are simply less capable. These narratives protect your ego while preserving the system that drains you. Machiavellian realism cuts through this illusion. There is no moral high ground in being perpetually overlooked. There is only position, and your position has been carefully defined by others because you refused to define it yourself. Another sign appears in how your limits are tested. They push slightly, then a bit more. A small request becomes an expectation. A favor becomes an obligation. Each time you comply without resistance, the boundary moves. Not because they are malicious, but because humans naturally expand into available space. You have made space abundant. Eventually, you notice that saying no feels like a transgression. Guilt floods in, anxiety, fear of being seen as selfish. This emotional response is the residue of long-term conditioning. You have been trained to associate self-protection with moral failure. Those who respect themselves do not experience this conflict. Their no is clean, it is expected. Yours feels disruptive because it is rare, and rarity signals danger.
The most revealing moment comes when you do assert yourself. Watch the reaction: confusion, pushback, subtle punishment, withdrawal of warmth. This is not because you are wrong, it is because you are breaking character. You are no longer performing stability, and that makes others uncomfortable. Machiavelli would tell you this discomfort is your first taste of leverage. But leverage must be cultivated carefully. Used clumsily, it invites retaliation. Used strategically, it reorders hierarchy. Before that can happen, you must recognize the fourth sign, a sign so normalized that most people never question it, yet it silently confirms that you are valued for what you provide, not who you are. They feel entitled to your time. Not because they asked, because they assumed. Your schedule is treated like open territory. Meetings run long, requests arrive late, emergencies somehow always become yours. And when you hesitate, even briefly, the disappointment is immediate.
as if you violated an unwritten law. This is the fourth sign. Your time is not negotiated, it is appropriated. Time is the most honest currency of respect. People protect what they value. They schedule carefully around those whose presence carries consequence. With you, there is no caution, no preparation, no apology. Your hours are seen as elastic, stretchable, endlessly recoverable. You have made them so. Machiavellian power is rooted in scarcity. What is scarce becomes valuable. What is abundant becomes invisible. You have made yourself endlessly available, then wondered why you are treated as an extension rather than a force. Observe how others guard their time, how they delay responses, how they create distance, how their unavailability increases their status. This is not coincidence, it is instinct. Humans equate access with rank. The harder someone is to reach, the higher they are placed. You are always reachable, and so you are always placed lower. Another sign emerges in moments of success, yours or theirs. When you succeed, the acknowledgement is muted, quickly normalized. Of course you handled it. When they succeed, celebration is expected. Your support is assumed. You are the silent pillar beneath someone else's victory. This imbalance is not about jealousy, it is about attribution. Your efforts are seen as maintenance, not creation. Maintenance keeps systems running, creation reshapes them. Only creators are respected, maintainers are relied upon, then ignored. You may notice that your ideas are often accepted only when repeated by someone else. Suddenly they carry weight. Suddenly they are brilliant. This is not theft, it is filtration. Your words gain value only after passing through a higher status mouth. This is how hierarchy reveals itself. There is also the subtle punishment of invisibility. When you withdraw slightly, no one rushes to meet you halfway. When you give less, you are not asked why. You are simply replaced, temporarily or quietly. This teaches you a dangerous lesson, that your value is conditional on constant output. Respect is resilient. Usage is conditional. Biologically, this mirrors dominant structures in social mammals. The alpha is not the one who works the hardest, it is the one whose presence alters behavior. You alter outcomes, but not behavior. People do not adjust themselves around you, they adjust you around themselves. And then there is the fifth sign, intertwined with all the others. They do not protect you. When conflict arises, you are exposed. When blame circulates, it finds you easily. When decisions backfire, responsibility drifts in your direction. You are not shielded, you are not defended. Your loyalty is assumed, but not reciprocated. Those who respect you defend your reputation in your absence. Those who use you let it erode, trusting that you will endure it silently. You tell yourself you do not need protection, that you can handle it, that strength means self-sufficiency. This belief flatters you while isolating you. Isolation weakens power. Power is relational. Machiavelli warned that those who stand alone are easy to sacrifice. And sacrifice is exactly what stability is for. In every system, when pressure increases, the most stable element is pushed until it cracks. Not the volatile one, not the unpredictable one, the stable one, because it is trusted to hold, until it doesn't. You are approaching that threshold. You feel it as fatigue, as numbness, as a quiet rage you do not express. This is not burnout. It is the biological response to prolonged subjugation disguised as virtue. The danger now is not that others will continue to use you. The danger is that you will internalize their perception, that you will shrink your ambitions to fit the role assigned, that you will confuse endurance with identity. This is where most people fail. They become loyal to the cage because it feels familiar. But Machiavellian strategy demands rupture, not loud rebellion, not emotional confrontation, but controlled withdrawal of reliability, strategic unpredictability, the slow introduction of cost. Before that can be done, there is one final sign to confront, the most painful one, the one that exposes how deeply this dynamic has shaped your self-image, and why breaking free will feel like treason.
They do not fear losing you. They fear losing what you provide. This is the final sign, and it is the one most people refuse to face, because it forces a brutal distinction between presence and function. When you imagine leaving, truly leaving, not just taking a break, what do you picture them reacting to? Missing you as a person, or scrambling to replace the stability you supplied? Be honest, your mind already knows the answer. You have been psychologically separated from your own value. You have learned to see yourself through utility. When you think of your worth, you think of what would collapse without you, not who would grieve your absence. That is the deepest conditioning of all. Machiavellian insight begins where sentimentality ends. People attach emotionally to what they admire. They attach strategically to what they can use. You have been strategically attached. This is why leaving feels like betrayal, not because you are disloyal, but because the system depends on your submission. Every structure resists the removal of its support beams. It creaks, it pressures, it guilts. It reframes your exit as selfishness, and you almost believe it. You have been taught that power is loud, aggressive, domineering, so you dismissed your own hunger for leverage as weakness or insecurity. In reality, the desire for respect is biological. Every organism seeks a position where it is not easily consumed. You stayed stable because instability was punished early. You learned that being difficult reduced affection, that asserting needs created distance. So you adapted. You became smooth, reliable, low friction, and slowly, invisibly, that adaptation became your prison. Machiavelli would tell you that prisons are rarely locked from the outside. The shift does not come from demanding respect. That reveals dependence. The shift comes from altering the cost-benefit calculation others subconsciously make about you. You stop explaining. You stop over-justifying. You stop being instantly available. You let silence replace reassurance. You let absence replace presence. You let uncertainty enter the space where predictability once lived. This feels cruel at first. It is not. It is corrective. Power does not need to announce itself. It changes behavior around it. When people begin to wonder where you are, what you think, whether you will comply, that is when respect begins to form. Not because you became harsher, but because you became less readable. Predators lose interest when prey no longer behaves like prey. Some will resist this shift. They will accuse you of changing, of becoming distant, of being selfish. These accusations are confessions. They reveal who benefited most from your previous position. Do not argue with them. Arguments seek approval. Power does not. Others will adjust. Their tone will change. Their requests will soften. Their listening will sharpen. Not because you asked them to respect you, but because they now have to. This is the Machiavellian inversion.
You gain influence not by giving more, but by withholding strategically, not by proving worth, but by introducing risk. Risk commands attention. Attention precedes respect. You were never weak. You were overexposed. And now you understand the truth hidden beneath all 8 signs. Stability without threat is servitude. Respect emerges only when your removal carries consequence. This knowledge is not meant to make you cruel. It is meant to make you precise. Most people will never see this. They will continue confusing being needed with being valued. They will remain proud of how much they endure, unaware that endurance without leverage is slow erasure. If you are still listening, it means something in you has already shifted. You no longer want to be the foundation others stand on while looking past you. You want position, clarity, control. That path is not popular. It is not praised. It is walked quietly by those who understand power and refuse to be consumed by it. This channel exists for those people. If you choose to remain inside the comfortable illusion, you will forget this lesson. If you choose to sharpen it, you will not. Those who subscribe do not do so for entertainment. They do it to refine their perception, harden their boundaries, and step out of roles assigned without consent. Decide accordingly.